Introducing NASM One, NASM's ultimate membership program. Unlock access to everything your fitness career needs to succeed. Unlimited CEUs, free courses, access to our premium app, and exclusive discounts, all for $35 a month. NASM One is best-in-class tools, cutting-edge certifications, confidence in your craft, and everything you do as a personal trainer made easy, so we can achieve our greatest goals together as one.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Random Fit with myself, Wendy Batts, and friend and co-host Ken Miller. Ken, how are you?
I am doing well, Wendy. You're looking good.
Why, thanks. You know, it's a beautiful day, and it's going to be a topic that I can relate to because I'm telling you, when clients ask what are things that they can do with their kids that is going to increase their cardio and how they feel and where it's fun, I tell everyone that they should jump rope. And they look at me like, what? But I did it as a kid. I'm sure you did too, Ken. And, you know, that's going to be our topic for the day. Jump rope revolution.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because the other day I took my kids to my facility and I was, you know, I put them on the rower, little too much tension for them. And I put them on the skill mill and, you know, they get bored of that really. I mean, it's a great piece of equipment, but they got a little bit bored. So I have a set of jump ropes hanging on the wall and I said, hey, let's jump rope. And they know how to jump rope, but they don't do it often enough. So here we are, all three of us are jumping rope and, you know, they're just like, how are you jumping so fast?
I get that.
Yeah. And I was like, well, son, you know, you just have to have, you know, some strength and coordination, you know, and I'm just throwing down that stuff. But it's like, man, how do I go that fast? Well, son, if you practice as hard as I do, you can. But it's you know, they're still at that age where they're still in awe of some of the things that you can do, like, you know, open up a gallon of milk, you know, things like that. So jumping rope was on that list now of things that I can do that he's like, oh, I want to jump just like that. So yeah, I am at that point where it's starting to be introduced to my kids as exercise as well as fun. So they're finding that secondary purpose for it now.
I love it. Well, yeah. And I don't know about you, but when I was in elementary school, they had something called Jump Rope for Heart. And I was actually here's my claim to fame. Again, when I was in second, third, and fourth grade, did this Jump Rope to Heart team where we would practice in the mornings. And when I say we would practice in the mornings, I would go an hour before school and we would jump rope. And we had these like really thin, wiry pieces of jump rope where we tied knots in it to make it a perfect size, which again, we stood on it with both feet and we had it go up to armpit level. That's how you know it was a good size for you. So if you're measuring your jump rope, you can thank me later. But we would do all kinds of different like routines with it. And we would jump rope as partners. We would do the double dutch where you have two and then you take your jump rope and jump in that double dutch while it was going. So there's 3 different ropes. So we did all kinds of like, you know, round offs and back handsprings and stuff into jump ropes. What? We did a bunch of, it was really fun. And we did them during halftime games at football. We didn't do football, basketball. And then there was times where we would just all get together as a community and jump rope. So it was really fun because I learned how to jump rope really well as a kid. And so now when I jump rope with my husband, who's not very good, I have one up on him. But it's one of those skills where when you learn it at a young age and you really enjoy it as you continue to get older, it's something that you can do. And, you know, I'm like, hey, watch this. And, you know, all these different turns and kicks and all kinds of fun things.
It's crazy, man. Like I went on social media and I was looking up jump rope. And the 7 or 8 time world champion for jump rope, she's an American, and it's crazy. You know, she's jumping. She's got one leg up, and she's doing the splits in the air. I don't know if it's to your caliber, Wendy. She's rolling on the ground, and
we could do it where you lift the leg up and just single leg jump with your leg doing different things and turns and everything, but I never did the splits in them. I would probably try to do that now. I might hurt something.
Yeah, the most we would
Come
do
out of
is
that.
we get the 2 ropes going, that little
Oh
double
yeah.
dutch.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so it just harkens back to my days of my youth, and when we would have just all the neighborhood kids just gathering in front of my parents' house. And of course there'd be a little stickball game, and there'd be a group doing jump rope. So it's nothing to your level, Wendy, of what you would do for school, but ours would be out in the street or out on the driveway, and we would jump rope. But
Well, and I
that was
actually
it.
had to look up, did Jump Rope for Heart, does it still exist? Because it's been going
Yeah,
on for
does it?
technically 4 decades. And
Wow.
so, yes, we can thank, there's a Milwaukee PE teacher, and her name is Jean, and hopefully I'm saying it right, but Jean Barklow. And she was the one that was like, she wanted to get her community together. She wanted to teach physical activity, again, with her students. And she made this team. And it was one of those things where people it started gaining momentum. It was
Hmm.
very, more in Milwaukee. So I don't know if you know this, but I also learned that is the capital, I think Bloomington or Bloomer, what was it? I don't want to say it wrong, but there's a Bloomer, Wisconsin is the jump rope capital of the world, if you will, the world. But it started in Milwaukee, and it's one of those things now where I'm like, well, I don't hear any of this going on with my son, and I don't know if you do out in California. I'm in Georgia, so you think in the southern states we would all be, doing this whole jump rope thing, but we don't. But now it's evolved into Kids Heart Challenge, and so they actually include jump rope in this challenge. However, it's not something where you practice and they make a team. And I mean, it really was so much fun. And we would actually compete different schools and stuff. So it's unfortunate that it's not like it used to be, Ken.
You can bring it back, Wendy.
Yeah,
Bring it back.
I may pull something, but but it brought into talk about the origin of,
Hmm.
because I know you and I were like, well, we've all done it as kids. I know my dad, my mom, they used to do it as kids. It's been
Yeah.
around for a very long time. And so when we were looking at the history, when we say a long time, this started in the 1600s, and they're trying to figure out who was the one that started it. So when you're looking it up, some people say that it started in China, and it was the pastime that the kids took part of during the Chinese New Year's festivals. And then some people will say that nope, it took place. It's a what was it? Egyptian, like an Egyptian pastime, and they did it because they would jump over vines. And so I found both of those fascinating. So they don't know who to say was the founder of jump rope, but either way, it was a way for kids to have fun with little equipment.
Yeah, and as I was reading up on the 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 history of jumping rope, they would use like some flexible reed or grass that they would intertwine. So something of length, something that was flexible enough for them to, I guess, twirl around and spin in the air. But can you imagine? All you have is like long reeds, and that's what if you did that today. The cuts, my ankles and my hands would just be all bloodied up from all that. But that's how it started.
Well, yeah, and if you look, there's 4 main types of, we learned so much. I mean, I'm like, oh,
I
we're
know.
going to talk about jump rope, and I was so excited because that was what I grew up doing. But there's 4 different types of jump ropes. There's a speed one. That's the one that we would use. That's like a wire.
Mhm.
And you're talking about, if you missed, it's like a big welt. Like you knew that you missed because you're so
Yeah.
fast. You're doing
Yeah.
double unders and doing all the things that you need to do for whatever it is that you're doing. But it's super light. It's almost like a wire that is encased in some kind of plastic or whatever,
Mhm.
where it doesn't wear out as quickly, but it's super light. So that's what makes it go faster. So when they talk about speed rope, that's usually what they're using. Of course, there's more of a weighted rope that's thicker. And so you can choose the weight. So when you're looking at not only the cardio, you're thinking about
Mhm.
the weight and strength that you need. So when you're talking about a weighted rope, then you've got the beaded rope. And I haven't seen a beaded rope in a long time,
Oh
but
yeah.
it looks
Yeah.
like the macaroni beads.
Yeah.
So I found that to be pretty interesting. And then what was the other one? So we've got speed, we've got bead, and then just a regular basic rope. And so that's one that you can go and buy. Sometimes it's even made of like, it feels like it's cotton, but it's not. It's that like polyester type cord. So it all kind of depends on what you're trying to do. But obviously when you're thinking about doing the jumping rope on a cardiovascular side, Ken, there's so many health benefits where I think we take it for granted because I don't think incorporate it enough.
You know, and it depends on what you're going for, because have you ever used one of those weighted ropes? And
yes,
yeah, they could weigh anywhere between, and I just ordered one, ironically enough, before we talked about doing this episode. I ordered one. It's on its way, so I'm gonna have to give you some feedback. But there's weight differences of, I believe, 2.5 to 5 pound ropes. Right, so it's actual rope. So it does depend on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for more a strength oriented program, because I just remember when I first tried a weighted rope, that got your arms and shoulders going, right? Plus your timing is a little bit different. But have you looked at a speed rope lately? It's Wendy, with not just the rope, but the handles.
Oh yeah. Now they actually have them to where, before they were just like this rod, but you can get some that actually mold into your fingers.
Yeah, but the bearings in there, and it just helps it spin. But I guess to your question, the thing about it does make a difference as far as what you're actually going for if you want a more strength oriented jump roping session, or if you're working on something that's more speed and agility related. So that's where the ropes do make a difference. So if I want mine to last forever, I'll get one of those beaded ropes. It's a little weighty, it's a little slower, but that's okay, because as and I actually have a pair in my facility. But that's something that just to get my kids' timing down, just because the rope keeps getting stuck under my kids' toes. If the rope spins faster than their ability to react and jump. So something a little bit slower that they can get their timing down.
Well, and I think that's when we think about it too, there are so many benefits, especially starting your children at a young age, trying to learn to jump rope, because think about the coordination that goes into this. Think about if you're jumping with 2 feet, if you're skipping, if you're doing just single leg, if you're trying to be creative and do your figure eights. There's a lot of different things that you can do on a strength side, because you can change the patterning. But on a coordination side, like you said, you have to make sure you jump where your arms and your feet are working together, or you're going to miss the rope, and then you have to start over. And then if you want to start jumping to where you're jumping faster, of course, that's more of your speed. But then if you want to do the double unders where it goes under your feet twice, and you're doing it more for speed, and you're going to have to jump higher and then get that coordination down. So there are a ton of benefits. And if you think about the muscles that are being worked, you've got your thighs, so your quads, you've got, of course, your hips, you've got the glutes working, because that's basically where you're going to be getting a lot of your power, your arms, your shoulders, your hands, your wrists. I mean, it truly is a full body cardio workout. And if you haven't done it in a long time, it is extremely tiring. I don't know how I did it for hours, but I did.
Well, like you said, you were second, third, fourth grade when you did it. So you have that. I can imagine a
little more energy.
Yeah, a little bit more energy as a little kid. And again, it's what I like about jumping rope more than anything else is just the coordination, because you have to coordinate top and bottom, again, your hands and your feet, but also you have to think left to right. Your hands actually have to work together to get that rope spinning the way it should. So when it comes to total body coordination for a child who might be sitting around all day, either for school or with their electronics in front of them, this is one way to get the brain to synapse a little bit differently a lot differently than what they would do for regular activity. It's not like kicking a ball. A lot of advantages to coordination of, if you're playing kickball, but for yourself, just to get the top and bottom, left to right, to work together in a way that no other activity can do for you. That's, in my mind, what makes it the most physically challenging. Is just getting the nervous system to synapse the way that it should if you're going to do this for an extended period of time.
Sure. And this week on Random Fit with myself, Wendy Batts, and Ken Miller, we're talking about jump rope revolution and how fun jump rope can be, but then how beneficial it is. And you just talked about, obviously, the coordination, having, getting the brain and the body to work together. So I look at it as a full body workout. And like you said, the translation of what it does to activities of other sports. Think about what you're having to do in basketball, what you're doing in football, where you're having to, you can move with the rope, you can having to get the upper and lower body to work at a faster speed. But think about too, you can use it as a, muscle power and strength with endurance. And that's something, especially as a kid, that you're teaching them how to gain more force and speed for longer periods of time. And so I think too, when you're looking at a sport, this is something that if you incorporate and you incorporate it correctly, that there's a lot of carryover to the sport where the brain and the body are learning how to use each other in different formats and different ways. So I think not only do we look at it as a full body workout, but we can look at it too as power and performance, or working yourself to that, if you will, because there are a lot of strength gains that you can get out of that.
Yeah. And not just about strength gains based on conditioning as a formal component of strength conditioning or just getting a good workout. But I just remember when I wrestled in high school, we would always have a couple, 2-3 jump ropes in our warm-up area. So behind where the team is sitting down and watching a match, we would be jumping. Whoever was up next, the next 2-3 weight classes, we would be jumping rope and warming up and getting things coordinated from that standpoint. So just to get going back to what we were just talking about with the coordination, but you get the coordination, but you're getting the body physically ready for your next match, which everything that you talked about, Wendy, and especially in wrestling, when you talk about the combination of speed, strength, power, that's what the jump rope, as you were going through your mental exercise and preparing for your next opponent, but that's what it prepared us to do as a warm up. So that definitely had a place also in getting ready for the competition, not just from a conditioning or a workout standpoint. So a lot of benefits there.
And if you keep reading and looking at some of the other benefits, we just talked about full body, we talked about strength. I think it's also really important to talk about how it can help on the athletic performance side. I know I kind of mentioned that, but I mean, there were studies that were done for beginner endurance runners. And I may be quoting this incorrectly, but from what I remember reading, they were saying that they had some individuals jump rope and then go and start their training. And then they had people that just started their training. And the people that incorporated doing the jump rope before they trained and then started doing their endurance training actually had more better results and felt better with reduced injuries because of the less stiffness that they had in their feet. They were getting obviously good movement and motion within their toes. Again, remember, we've talked about the first MTP joint, which is the great toe, the big toe. And if you need to have about 70 degrees of movement backwards, and if you're not really, using your toes and jumping off and landing correctly, especially when you run, you're going to end up having some issues in the ankles. You could have issues that translate into the knees. So I found that to be kind of fascinating too, when you're looking at, well, if I incorporate this before I do something for a long period of time, such as running, it can actually be beneficial and help reduce injuries versus cause them.
Yeah. And I know with your clients, I know you have clientele that run, right, for exercise, go outside and they go for a run. And I have clients that do the same thing. And if you really think about it, when you're running, you have 10 to 12 times body weight as far as the forces that translate through the knee when you're running. So when we think about, okay, how do you prepare the body to take on that impact and all those forces that are coming up through, as you're talking about, Wendy, the foot and ankle, the knee, the hip, the spine. So those low amplitude jumps, if you just go outside, and this is something that I bang my head against the wall on as far as getting my clients to warm up. Warm up is more than just walking the block, going for a slower paced jog, and then going for your run. It's running is running from that vantage point. You are controlling the tempo. But what else can you do to get the body ready for that impact that it's about to take on with every step that you take? There's a song in there somewhere.
Every
But
move you make.
yeah.
I'll be watching you.
Now I'm going to have that song in my head for the rest of the day, Wendy. Thank you. Thank you
I'm
very
here for
much.
you. I'm here
Yeah.
for you. Yes.
Yeah.
You notice I
But
didn't sing it because
yeah,
nobody wants to hear that.
thank you.
but-
I think I appreciate it. But from the vantage point, when you're jumping, those low amplitude jumps, and for all that you're talking about, Wendy, that contact point with the foot, getting the toe, that big toe to warm up, and just to get the foot and the ankles for that extension, that flexion and extension, all those things are going to help you warm up, prepare yourself for that run. So, and we're not talking about a 20-minute session. 5 minutes of jumping rope just to get, all lathered up before you go for a run. That's all we're talking about. Get the foot and ankle coordination, the synapses firing, and, great way to warm up.
Mm-hmm. And then if you're looking also at other benefits, I mean, one that makes sense, of course, is the heart and lungs. You've got to think what you're, that's definitely something on a conditioning side you want to focus on. But one that I kind of really didn't think about until I read it, and I'm like, oh yeah, would be about osteoporosis. And I think, when you're looking at that, because bone density, and they're saying obviously that if weight bearing activities we all know are going to help with our bone density, especially as we age. Now, granted, if someone has extreme osteoporosis, you're not going to start them doing jump rope. But if they are osteopenia and you know that they're active, they're running, they're already doing some type of conditioning, there's actually some studies that show that this can also help with that particular diagnosis. So I found that to be kind of interesting because I get all nervous and I always just associate, which is terrible, associate osteoporosis with elderly, even though we know that's not always the case. But especially in younger people that are getting diagnosed, this is something that you can incorporate, obviously with physician approval and clearance, but it's just another tool for your toolbox if you do happen to come across a client that needs to build bone density.
Yeah, and any and all opportunity to do that, take it. And if jumping rope can do, for all the boxes that we're checking off with jumping rope, why not add in, the added benefit of increasing bone density, especially if it is a concern, not just now, but what you're trying to do for yourself as you work towards your future. Keep what you got, put on more if you can, but overall, as you're saying, Wendy, if it is a concern, go to your doctor and make sure that it is ultimately okay.
Yes. And think about too, balance and coordination. And I say balance, I mean, is if someone wants to, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I have people start with 2 feet and they jump rope for, let's say, 60 seconds. And then I have them skip, where it's every other foot. And then I'll have them jump on the right foot. Well, they don't have to move. They can skip in place or they can move. It doesn't matter. We've traveled, do all kinds of different things, or I'll have them jump rope on 1 foot for 30 seconds and then switch. So when you think about balance and you think about coordination and you're thinking about what's going on at the body, because you've got to make sure that your feet, your eyes, your hands, everything is moving together. And when you change different patterns, it's really helping, like you said, your brain fire and getting your body to move different ways. And so I find that to be a huge, huge benefit. But the last benefit too, I think, is one that we don't talk enough about, but it's adaptable and it's fun. And when my clients say, but Wendy, I don't have a jump rope, I'm like, yes, but you have hand towels. And they look at me like I've lost my mind. And if you guys take like dish towels, hand towels, again, different towels, between or how thick they are, and you actually go outside or inside and you take your towels and you spin them like you're doing a jump rope, and then you start jumping, it is really hard to do. And it's a really good upper body workout. Sometimes we'll use those as battle ropes if we're doing something on FaceTime or I'm not with them, or I'm traveling and we're doing it online. So there are ways to make it adaptable. And as long as someone can land properly, because we definitely, and I'll let you take this, Ken, but we need to avoid injuries. But
Mm-hmm.
as long as somebody can jump and their body is in good alignment and they are really trying to increase their cardio and do something different, this is something the whole family can do. It's super fun, and then you can have time games. Who can jump the longest without messing up? Who can do it this way without messing up? Who gives up first? Who can do as many double unders? Whoever loses has to take out the trash.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
fun things.
Who's the best quitter? We but yeah, having it fun. I mean, as I brought that story up of taking my kids to the facility, and there's a lot of things that they do in the facility, but for us, and it struck me funny that was the first, and this we're only talking about a week and a half ago, that was the first time that we took the jump ropes off of the rack. But we had the most interaction out of it, instead of me telling them, all right, I want you to pick this up, put this down over there and move it that way, or get on the skill mill, and okay, I want you to sprint for 30 seconds and I want you to jog for 2 minutes and doing intervals. But that taking out the jump rope was the most interaction, the most smiles we had in doing anything in there. And I've got a lot of fun toys in my facility, but that was where the challenges came up. Let's see how long you can go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go 20, 30 seconds without stopping. So it was a challenge, like you're saying, Wendy, but overall we were trying to get each other to laugh, trying to get somebody else to mess up, telling a riddle, telling a joke, and getting somebody to lose focus. But that challenge evolved, and I would show them, okay, what if I took the jump rope and did it instead of all forward? What if I took it at an angle, right? So angle it to the right, angle it to the left. Now who can, it wasn't skipping, but I was doing a single leg, doing single leg for 5 on the right, single leg 5 on the left.
Oh, you're nice. I do it for time and I crush them. But then I also, what you can do with your kids, have a starting line and have them run and jump at the same time. So they have to be able to move at a distance, and then it's a race. So it's who can finish, who can race. They have to jump through it. It's not like they can hold the rope and run. So that is where you start to really get the giggles. And then if they're super competitive, because my family is very competitive, it's one of those things too where you just have to laugh, because it's just funny to watch, and the intensity in your face, because everybody wants to win. But I do want to say this before we end. It's really important before you decide you're going to pick up a jump rope. If you have not been doing that for a while, you definitely want to stretch your calves. Well, foam roll your calves if you can. You definitely want to stretch your calves. And, if you can do just where you bring your toes up towards your shins to try to strengthen the front of your shins, so the anterior tib, if you will, that is going to help reduce the chances of shin sprints, super, overactive and sore calves over long periods of time. And when you're done, if you can do that again, meaning just the stretching and the rolling, I think you're going to feel better versus you just decide, hey, today I'm going to jump rope for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then not do anything. Because over time, if you keep getting your calves overactive, it can lead to your feet turning out and lead to some stress in your knees. And so we definitely don't want that too. So try to jump with your feet straight, try to make sure your knees are over your toes, make sure you've got good form, but then also have fun with it.
Yeah. And technique wise, and something I had to walk my son through just till he got it, was, let the rope spin over and then step over it, spin it over and step over it again. Once the coordination comes around, then you can increase the speed. And like what you're talking about, Wendy, is just graduate into a higher level of intensity, not just in how you prepare, but also the actual act of jumping rope, to where we're not expecting you to go full 20, 30 minutes on your first day. But if you got 5 minutes and then built that up,
I challenge you to try to go 20 or 30 minutes.
Of course you would. Of course you would challenge somebody. You'd meet them at their front door to do it too.
Yeah, and then when you crawl to me the next day, I don't want to hear it. So I just told you, be smart. But Ken, this was super fun. I thank you for letting me relive my elementary days, if you will. But hopefully we've given some people some good ideas of things that they can do as a family, because I think it's important when you start to incorporate more family things, it makes it so much more fun. But there are a ton of different benefits that you can get out of it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, that is going to be a staple of ours when we go into the facility and do work out as a family.
I want you to video it and then send it to me.
I'll post it. I'll post it on my social, and then
There you go.
and then you can critique form and technique if I'm doing the rollover and the splits the way you used to do it when you peaked as a third grader. So
oh, that's sad.
that's it. All right. So for those of you listening to us, both Wendy Batts and I, Ken Miller here on Random Fit, talking about jumping rope. Hopefully it flashes back some good memories of your childhood playing out in the yard or at the schoolyard, but definitely brought me back some decades ago. So thank you again for listening to us here on Random Fit. Like, follow, subscribe, download, rate if you can, share, and of course, comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and we will do that at some point. Hopefully, we'll get something on here that you wanted to listen to more so. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.